Appropriations Revenue, January 31, 2024. Annex Room 149. Please call the roll.
Representative Banta.
Present.
Representative Bentley. Representative Brown. Representative Dietz.
Here.
Representative Dossett.
Present.
Representative Flannery.
Here.
Representative Fleming.
Present.
Representative Frazier Gordon.
Yes.
Representative Freeland.
Here.
Representative Fugit.
Here.
Representative Gentry.
Here.
Representative Hart.
Here.
Representative Johnson.
Here.
Representative McCool. Representative McPherson.
Here.
Representative Palumbo. Representative Raymond. Representative Riley. Representative Stevenson. Representative Upchurch.
Here.
Vice Chair Bowling.
Here.
Vice Chair Bray.
Present.
Chair Petrie.
Here. All right, we have a quorum to conduct business, and up for today, first, we will take up off the agenda what is listed as item number 2. We will take up House Bill 6, an act relating to appropriations and measures providing funding and establishing conditions for the operations, maintenance, support, and functioning of the government of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, its various officers, cabinets, departments, boards, commissions, institutions, subdivisions, agencies, and other state-supported activities. We have a committee sub 1 that was delivered yesterday with some of the following.
I move to adopt committee sub 2 to House Bill 6.
We'll hold on the motion for the moment. The committee sub that was delivered yesterday, PHS 1, would do the following: reduce the vacancy credits applied to all agencies and exempted critical need classifications in corrections, state police, veterans affairs, and other agencies. Also corrected a system issue we had in causing some capital projects not to print out. The debt service was included, but there was insufficient listing of capital projects in a few areas. There was an HVA system replacement at the Ratcliffe Veterans Center. It also clarified several technical language issues that had come in at various agency requests while the bill has after filed and before today. And from the executive branch, increased NGE authority in military affairs and corrections. Added language requested by administration providing NGE authority for ANOC budget unit. Removed language pertaining to fees in several spots that needed to be in a separate bill to make sure revenue matters and budget matters were cleanly separated. Updated SEEK appropriation unit with new data provided by the Department of Education. Increased the K-12 transportation funding to 100% in FY26. Clarified the reimbursement language for school resource officers in local districts. Provided general fund for 45 new positions in the unemployment insurance budget unit to fully implement House Bill 4 from 2022, I believe. Provided general fund to replace lost federal funds to support the 8 area health education centers. Included language to allocate Kentucky Access Fund to Medicaid benefits. Provided additional funds for construction of new state police posts in Richmond and Harlan. Those were continuation projects, I think. Added NG authority up to $5 million in current year and $10 million in 24-26 in corrections. Included $10 million general fund for Kentucky Health Care Workforce Investment Fund established by the 2023 session of the General Assembly, House Bill 200, I believe. Corrected the retirement subsidy issue for regional issues where there was a double reporting to us. Included a $1.5 million maintenance pool for the horse park that had been omitted, and clarified executive order reporting language in Part 3. That was the committee sub that was delivered yesterday. There was a PHS 2 delivered early this morning. It had 3 technical changes, 2 technical changes, 1 small substantive change. 1 corrected language. These are the only changes in PHS 2 from PHS 1. Corrects language pertaining to Little Sandy Correctional Complex. Adds language pertaining to the funding of medical cost in corrections, and added some language regarding alternative sentencing in the Public Advocacy Department. And there are no other changes on PHS2. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I now move to adopt Committee Substitute 2 to House Bill 6.
Have a motion to adopt and a second to adopt PHS2 to House Bill 6. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? House Committee Substitute 2 to House Bill 6 is adopted. That's what's before the committee at this point. As we said previously, House Bill 6 is the executive branch budget. We're not going to have a lot of opening comments about this, and we're going to get straight into the substance of it, and we will call up the BR sub-chairs one at a time to go over their information. Representative Fugit, who chairs the BR Subcommittee on Economic Development, Public Protection, Tourism, and Energy, will be first up. Understand that this budget is approximately $15 billion a year in general fund. Will put us well up in the 60-plus range for full funding per year. And we are going to cover with the BR sub-chairs helping us most of the subject areas. And then we will entertain questions at the end. And then we're going to take up, well, let's leave it at that. So first up, Representative Fugit, regarding economic development, public protection, tourism, and energy. Please give us some information.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Fugit with 84th District, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here before the committee today. In the Economic Development Cabinet, we'll be increasing the general fund by $350,000 in each fiscal year to support engineering firm services. Under the Public Protection Cabinet, in the Office of the Secretary, will increase restricted funds by $1.6 million in each fiscal year to support additional personnel. In financial institutions, we'll increase restricted funds by $299,000 in FY25, $301,000 in FY26 to support additional personnel. Housing, building, and construction will increase restricted funds by $420,000 in each fiscal year to support the replacement of inspector vehicles. Increase restricted funds by $80,000 each fiscal year to support the purchase of uniforms and gear for field inspection staff. We'll increase the restricted funds by $663,700 in FY25, $548,700 in 26 to support additional plumbing personnel and vehicles. Under the insurance, we increase restricted funds by $300,000 in each fiscal year to support additional insurance personnel. Increase restricted funds by $312,000 in 25, $313,000 in 26 to support additional health and life and managed care personnel. Increase restricted funds by $242,800 in 25 and $243,800 in 26 to support the additional financial standards and examination personnel. In parks, we increased general fund by $600,000 in each fiscal year to support additional project managers to help with the backlog of projects that have not been completed in the past few years. For the State Fair Board, we increased general fund by $2 million in 25 to the Kentucky Expo Center equipment replacement. Also, we increased restricted funds by $200,000 in 24 and each year of 24 through 26 fiscal biennium for Kentucky International Convention Center operations growth. Excuse me. Under the Energy and Environment Cabinet, we increased restricted funds by $700,000 in each fiscal year for a mobile inspection application. In the Environmental Protection section, we increased general fund by $320,000 in 25, $350,000 in 26 for chemical and laboratory supplies. Increased the general fund by $1.8 million in 25, $1.2 million in 26 to support additional personnel and operating costs. We increased the restricted funds by $4.4 million in each fiscal year to support the increased reimbursement rates associated with petroleum storage tank remedial cleanup activities. And then in natural resources, we increased the general fund through the tobacco by $100,000 each fiscal year for direct local aid to the conservation districts. We increased restricted funds by $12.5 million in each fiscal year to support the acid mine drainage abatement projects. In the energy policy, we increased general fund by $835,524 and $832,400 in each fiscal year to support the matching requirement for the federal grid resilience grant program, and that increases the federal funds by 5.5 in each fiscal year to support the federal grid resilience grant program. That's the highlights, Mr. Chairman, of that part of the budget. And if there's any questions, I'm sure you can field what I can.
Very good. We're going to move on to the second subject matter so we can get that covered first. Representative Freeland, be our sub-chair on general government. Thank you. And regarding your subject matter, Representative Freeland, if you will, give us the highlights or things you found important in that subject matter. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'll just highlight some of the House Executive Budget items for the general government area. In the Office of Homeland Security, increases restricted funds by $1.1 million in each fiscal year to meet the contractual obligations for commercial radio services. The Department of Veteran Affairs increases general fund by $12.4 million in 25 and $5.6 million in 26, and increases restricted funds by $10 million in fiscal year 26 for the personnel and operating costs associated with opening the Bowling Green Veterans Center. In the Military Affairs Department, increases general fund by $1.8 million in each fiscal year to provide the state match requirements for the National Guard Youth Challenge Program. Increases general fund by $1.5 million in each fiscal year to support operations at the National Guard locations. Increases general fund by $1.1 million in fiscal year 25 and $2.2 million in fiscal year 26 to replace the loss of federal funds going to the emergency management, and increases general fund by $8.3 million in 25 and $7.8 million in 26 to implement the Kentucky Urban Search and Rescue Team with personnel and equipment. Also provides for $68 million in fiscal year 25 and $4 million in fiscal year 26 in bond funds for capital projects. In the Attorney General's office, increases restricted funds by $20 million in fiscal year 25 and $15 million in fiscal year 26 to support the Body Armor Grant Program. That's grants for law enforcement for the purchase of body armor. Also increases the general fund by $1.199 million in fiscal year 25 and $2.9 million in fiscal year 26 to support the reorganization of the Child Support Program, and also increases general fund by $2 million in fiscal year 25 and $2.1 million in fiscal year 26 for the Commonwealth Attorney's Rocket Docket Program. In the Treasury, the only thing I'll highlight is it increases general fund by $120,000 in fiscal year 25 for printing equipment, and in the Department of Agriculture, increases general fund through the tobacco program support for the Farms to Food Bank Program by $250,000 in fiscal year 25 and $400,000 in fiscal year 26, and also increases general fund support for the Rural Mental Health Suicide Prevention Farm Safety Program by $500,000 in each fiscal year, and places the program solely under the Department of Agriculture, and increases general fund support by $153,900 in 24, also $443,900 in fiscal year 25, and $443,900 in 26 to hire additional personnel in the Division of Emergency Preparedness, and increases general fund support by $553,700 in fiscal year 25 and $987,000 in 26 to hire additional personnel in the Division of Regulatory Field Services. So those are just some of the highlights, and I do have a few more, I'm sorry. For the Auditor of Public Accounts Office, increases general fund by $2.25 million in each fiscal year to support lost revenue replacement, increases general fund by a little over $1 million in fiscal year 24, and in each year of the 2024-26 fiscal biennium to support the rate protection plan, increases general fund by $18,292,000 in fiscal year 25 and $18,499,000 in fiscal year 26 to support the transition of the CHFS Office of Ombudsman and administrative review to the Auditor of Public Accounts on July 1st, 2024. That's part of Senate Bill 23 or Senate Bill 48 from 2023 session. Also increases general fund by $750,000 in fiscal year 25 to support the Jefferson County Public Schools audit and allows the Auditor of Public Accounts to request as necessary government expense up to $750,000 in fiscal year 25. And that does conclude the highlights, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you. And we're going to move on to Representative Bentley, be our sub-chair on Health and Family Services. Representative Bentley, if you will, give us things of interest or highlights in your subject matter.
My subject matter is Health and Family Services Cabinet, and it is appropriated to the Health and Family Services Cabinet the following amounts. Ending year 24 is $567 million. The total funds for 24 through 2025 will be $21 billion with a B, $773 million. 25 through 2026 is $23 billion, $811 million. For the general administration of this cabinet and the program support areas, we're going to increase the general fund by $5.2 million and restricted funds by $2.9 million in fiscal year 25, and increase general fund by $5.1 million and restricted funds by $1.9 million in fiscal year 26 for staffing and operations of the Office of Medical Cannabis. It increases the restricted funds by $1 million in each fiscal year for additional contracted services to conduct long-term certification surveys. A lot of people are probably wondering how come it's going up so much. So I'll give that answer right now, Mr. Chairman, if that's fine with you.
That is fine.
Enrollment, waivers increased, and normal costs of this cabinet. In Medicaid benefits, increases general fund by $151.2 million in fiscal year 26, restricted funds by $400,000, and federal funds by $616 in fiscal year 26 for a continuation of K-CHIP services. Next, increase the general fund by $7.2 million and federal funds by $18 million in fiscal 25 for 500 additional Michelle P. waiver slots, and increase the general fund to $14.5 million in federal by 36 in fiscal year 26 for 500 additional Michelle P. waiver slots. Third, increase the general fund by $7.4 million, federal funds by $18.6 million in fiscal year 25, and 250 additional supports for community living, SCL waiver slots, and increases the federal fund by $14.8 million and federal by $37.8 million for 250 additional SCL waiver slots. Fourth, increases the general fund by $4.8 million and federal funds by $12.1 million in fiscal year 25 for 500 additional home and community-based services, HCBS waiver slots, and increases the general fund $9.6 million in federal by $24.1 million for 500 additional HCBS waiver slots. It also increases the general fund by $3.8 million in each fiscal year to support an increase in personal needs allowance from 40 to 60 per month. Those are the Medicaid benefits. For the Department of Public Health, It increases the general fund by $5 million in each fiscal year for pediatric cancer research. It increases the general fund by $3.9 million in fiscal year 25 and $5.9 million in fiscal year 26 for staffing and operations for local health departments. It increases the restricted fund by $6 million in fiscal year 24 and $10 million in fiscal year 25 and $14 million in fiscal year 26 for increased enrollment and service costs for individuals participating in the Human Immunodeficiency Virus Program. Adds language to require a report detailing the progress of the Central Laboratory Expansion Capital Project. 4. Family Resource Centers. It increases the general fund by $4 million in each fiscal year for the operation of additional centers currently serving more than one school. In the Department for Community-Based Services, it increases restricted funds to $3.2 million, federal funds by $1.8 million in fiscal year 25, and increases restricted funds by $6.4 million and federal funds to $3.6 million in fiscal year 26 for 100 additional social workers over the fiscal biennium. It increases the general fund by $30 million and federal funds by $10 million in fiscal year 25 and increases the general fund by $40 million in fiscal year 26 to maintain reimbursements to child care providers for CPAC, CCAP families at the 80th percentile of the market rate survey. For the Department of Aging and Independent Living, we increased the general fund $10 million in each fiscal year to continue expansion of the senior meal program. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next subject matter, and that would be Representative Fleming, be our sub-chair on Personnel, Public Retirement, and Finance. And Representative Fleming, as you settle in, proceed when you are ready and give us highlights or points of interest in your subject matter, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to present this information from the subcommittee. I'm going to cover 4 areas. It's going to be pretty short compared to the other reports. First of all is the public retirement systems. For the teachers retirement system, the House Bill 6 fully funds statutory employer contribution to the education budget. In addition, the ADEC additional funding required to fully fund the system's request is provided as directed of the general fund item in the operational budget for KTRS. The Kentucky retirement system provided the actuarial required contribution for from the KHAS and for the state police retirement system, and that rate was fully funded for both systems and the agency budgets of the Commonwealth. In the case of the employer contributions for Kentucky retirement system for non-HAS, ARC was fully funded in the agency's operational budget. In addition, the required ARC, the operational budget for the Kentucky Public Pension Authority contains $250 million general fund to each year that is directed to be deposited in a monthly installment to K non-HAS pension fund to continue the efforts of the General Assemblies to address the unfunded liability of that fund. Second, Mr. Chairman, the Personnel Cabinet. As y'all know, every 5 years we have to go through a classification review budget, and this includes $1.5 million for that effort. In addition to that, $1 million is going to be used to hire a consultant to do a study for salary compression, which we have talked in the past, issue and causes the state government and to make recommendations to address them. Third, statewide policy. The statewide salary increment policy for this biennium calls for a 4% salary increment in the fiscal 26, an additional 2% of salary increment for the following fiscal year. The cost of these increments is fully funded in the agency budgets. And finally, Mr. Chairman, the Finance Cabinet. The shortfall in the Kentucky Affordable Prepaid Tuition Trust Fund is addressed in accordance with the fund's audit. The funds are provided to update the state's motor vehicle fleet, and additional positions are provided in purchasing to assist with the park's backlog of construction projects. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you, Chairman Fleming. Up next, we're going to proceed with Representative Banta, be our sub-chair on primary and secondary education and workforce development. And as you settle in, Representative Banta, when you're ready, proceed with highlights or points of interest in your subject matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. This is probably going to be the longest testimony I've ever given, so please bear with me. I'm going to start with the SEEK formula, the Student Education Excellence in Kentucky. For the Support Education Excellence in Kentucky Fund, the House provides a 4% increase in 2025. This increase provides an additional $117 million in the first year of the biennium. The House also provides an additional 2% increase in 2026, adding an additional $153 million in the second year biennium. This investment in elementary and secondary education increases SEEK education funding for students and local district operations by an additional $270 million over the biennium. The per pupil guarantee in each year is increased substantially from $4,200 in 2024 pupil guarantee to $4,368 in 2025. That's over $168, and $4,455 in 2026, $255 over 2024 numbers. These funds will allow districts more flexibility to address decreased enrollment of more than 28,000 students since 2018-2019, growing truancy and working to improve educational opportunities for students. Local district transportation increased funding for that. It increases $168 million more in appropriations over the biennium to fund local school district busing and transportation needs. Elementary and secondary education, the first year of the biennium, the state will be providing funding to cover 80% of the calculated costs for transportation, and in the second year, 100%. The increase in SEEK and transportation funds adds $423 million to the state funding, allowing local districts to utilize local revenues in other priorities areas such as increasing salaries, improving educational programs, addressing decreased enrollment, and strengthening core instruction to improve student academic outcomes. School resource officers, we continue to provide supports for school safety. The House budget provides $16.5 million in 2025 and $18 million in 2026 to help local school districts hire resource officers. Local districts can access these funds on a reimbursement basis for up to $20,000 for each campus, employing at least one SRO. Teachers, the House also is providing incentives to help teachers and students training to become elementary and secondary teachers and continue the path to certification. The House budget is giving us funding for student teachers up to $5,000 to semester to complete their program, and an additional $7.3 million each fiscal year, $14.6 million over the biennium will allow students to be paid for the semester of the teaching that is required to be completed after graduating. The second program being created for teacher recruitment is Student Loan Forgiveness Pilot Program that will provide up to $5,000 for each year qualified teaching service beginning in the 24-25 school year and not to exceed 10 years. This additional $4.8 million each fiscal year, $9.6 million over the biennium, will encourage teachers, especially those just entering the profession with college debt, to receive student loan relief after completing their education and gaining certification for the years that they work in a qualified classroom teaching position. Some national estimates indicate that almost 40% of teachers who leave the profession leave within the first 5 years of teaching. This pilot program will help retain teachers and provide the support that will encourage and enable teachers to stay in the Kentucky classroom. Family Resource and Youth Services, the House provides increased funding for Family Resource and Youth Services by $4 million each fiscal year. This additional funding will support the operations of additional centers currently serving more than one school. The school building, the budget also includes debt service to support local school capital projects totaling $85 million in 2025 and bond funds for normal offers of assistance, $26.4 million in 2025 in bond funds for special offers of assistance, and the special offers are intended to assist with increased construction costs due to inflation for those schools identified in the previous budget's special assistance. The budget also continues to provide construction relief to local district by extending the provisions in 2022 House Bill 678, allowing the district facility to plan modifications to move forward more quickly by eliminating regulatory restrictions. The House budget provides funding for $5 million in each fiscal year for newly established educators' employment liability insurance program, and the teacher and school district employee health insurance, which is important to us all. The House budget includes funding for teacher and school district employee health insurance by providing an additional $93.7 million in 2025 and an additional $227.6 million in 2026. This brings the total appropriation for health insurance for teachers and school staff to just over $2 billion for the biennium. Kentucky Education TV is also a winner by us providing $750,000 each fiscal year to increase their streaming service and cloud service.
Does that conclude your remarks?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. And we're going to move on to what would be Representative McCool, who will be our sub-chair on post-secondary education. For other reasons, he is not with us today. And we're going to have a first introduction, really, of our new vice chairs on A&R, who are, I think, together, or by agreement one, will cover the subject matter that Representative McCool was ready to present on for post-secondary education. When one or both of you are ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The House proposed budget provides substantial financial resources to our post-secondary universities, our colleges and technical schools, and our students through increased funding for scholarship programs. The committee substitute provides an additional $500,000 in fiscal year 25 and $250,000 in fiscal year 26 to provide funding to the Council on Post-Secondary Education. These funds are to support CPE's continued role in oversight of the improvements at KSU to restructure KSU's operations and finances. The committee sub also provides $10 million in funding for the Kentucky Health Workforce Investment Fund created in the 2023 session to encourage public-private sector partnerships to provide healthcare training scholarships for Kentucky residents. In KIA, the House continues to support both need-based and merit-based scholarship opportunities funded with lottery dollars. The House Committee Sub provides for increased funding in the CAP program with $337 million over the biennium, $92 million over the biennium for the tuition grant program, $230 million over the biennium for the key scholarships. Any unused funds from these programs will be utilized to support the work-ready and dual-credit scholarships. The budget also provides increased funding for these scholarship programs: the Teacher Scholarship Program with an appropriation of $300,000 in each fiscal year, and Cole County Scholarship Programs for pharmacy students in an increase of an additional $50,000 in each fiscal year.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you, Chairman. Post-secondary institutions. In the 2022 through 2024 budget, the House established an asset preservation pool to help post-secondary institutions manage the preservation, renovation, and maintenance of educational facilities. We continue to support this initiative and include $300 million in each fiscal year for an asset preservation pool for each post-secondary institution. This pool requires a 25% match from each research institution and agency bonds. The budget also provides an additional $36 million in general fund each year to support a 4% inflationary adjustment for each institution in our post-secondary system. The House also includes an additional $3.9 million each fiscal year, $7.8 million over the biennium to increase the post-secondary performance fund, encouraging our post-secondary universities to improve degree attainment for our college and technical education students. The House budget also includes funding for each university's priority capital project. This includes Eastern Kentucky University, construction of the new Model Laboratory School, Phase 2, $59,100,000. Kentucky State University, construction of the Health Sciences Center, $50 million. Morehead State University, construction of a multidisciplinary classroom building, $90 million. Murray State University, construction of the Learning Commons with housing, $38 million. Northern Kentucky University, renew and renovate the Steele Library, price tag of $72 million. University of Kentucky, construction of the Agriculture Research Facility 1, $230 million. University of Louisville, construction of the Health Sciences Simulation Center and Collaboration Hub, $280 million. Western Kentucky University, replacing the academic complex, $160 million. And Kentucky Community and Technical College System, renovation of the Occupational Technical Building Phase 2 at Elizabethtown Community and Technical College at $44 million. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you both very much. We'll proceed on to the next subject matter, which is be our Sub-Chair Flannery on Justice, Public Safety, and Judiciary. And Chair Flannery, as you settle in, when you are ready, please proceed with highlights or points of interest in your subject matter. Thanks.
Good afternoon. Patrick Flannery for the 96th District. We're going to cover the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet. First up, Justice Administration increases the general fund by $200,000 to support the development of a new case management system for the Child Fatality and Near Fatality External Review Panel. It increases general fund by $84,000 and $86,000 for the following year to support the required fund match for the Violence Against Women Act grant, which was waived during COVID. And it also adds language to identify the base funding for the Rocket Docket program at the Prosecutors Advisory Council. Next, to criminal justice training includes sufficient restricted funds funding to provide for a 4% increase to the incentive payment in fiscal year 25 and 2% the following year, and expands eligibility to part-time law enforcement officers. Amends language dictating the total administrative reimbursement the department can access from the CLEP to conform with CLEP decisions. It increases restricted funds by $843,500 and $744,600 the next year to provide funds from CLEF to various operating costs, including custodial mills, fleet, GPS tracking, contract with DKU, drone insurance, and other matters. It increases by $820,700 in each fiscal year to support an increase in the number of post-critical incident seminars. It increases funds by $1.3 million and $1.4 million the following year to support additional positions, including 10 new law enforcement instructors. It increases funding to provide 22 police-related vehicles for law enforcement vehicle operation training. Increases funds to support officer revocation hearing processes that have accumulated in a backlog. Increases by $1 million and $1.1 million the following year to provide necessary transfer authority to adhere to CLEF decisions. That includes an increase in the number of post-critical incident seminars and officer revocation hearing process expenses. And finally, in this category, it increases by $1.4 million in each fiscal year to support a transfer from the CLEF to the Office of the Kentucky Law Enforcement Council supports. Next, on to juvenile justice, a hot topic the last year or two. It increases restricted funds by $2.7 million to support the purchase of additional fleet vehicles for juvenile transportation. Increases by $7.8 million to support increases in alternative to detention programming and contracts. And also in this category, increases by $3.5 million in each year to support additional positions and screening tools and training to implement evidence-based programming. Next in this category, next on this list, state police. Several increases made here. Increases by $9 million and $15.2 million the following year to support the statutory CPI adjustment for trooper salary schedules for 1,013 troopers and commercial vehicle enforcement officers. Increases by $6.4 million and $17.7 million the following year to support classes of 75 trooper cadets in each of those fiscal years. Increases by $3.1 million and $2.9 million the following year to support lease renewals for the Kentucky Emergency Warning System. That would cover 99 tower sites. There's an increase to support the licensing cost increases for different matters, including NetMotion, NICE Investigate, Cradleport, network security, and other systems that support body-worn and integrated camera systems. $2.6 million in each year to support the purchase of an additional 25 marked cruisers and 25 unmarked cruisers each of those 2 years in this budget. Increases by $745,300 and $761,300 to support 8 additional full-time facility security officer positions. There's an increase of $1.1 million in each year to support service contracts for toxicology and DNA equipment and increased costs for evidence collection kits. There's an increase of $750,000 to support upgrades to the CJIS, which is the Criminal Justice Information System. There's an increase in each year to support agency-issued cell phones for 500 road units. This also replaces separate digital audio recorders and cameras. There's an increase of $710,000 in each year to support 7 additional full-time resource management analyst positions to meet state and federal requirements for the sex offender registry and related software service contracts. And finally, under the state police, there's $1.7 million in each year to support a 10% salary increase for 150 positions in the KSP forensic laboratories. Next, we're moving to corrections, starting with corrections management, an increase of $325,000 in fiscal year 25 to update the Kentucky Offender Management System that is used to track inmates, probation and parole sentences, program credits, and services received for proper sentence completion dates. Next, correctional institutions, starting with adult correctional institutions. $15.4 million and $27 million the following year to support the staffing, medical care, educational service, addiction services, and reentry efforts stemming from the expansion of the Little Sandy Correctional Complex in Elliott County. $1.3 million in each fiscal year to assist with the correctional industry's negative cash flow. Corrections, community services, and local facilities. There's an increase of $307,000 and $2 million the following year to support additional 20 probation and parole officer positions and operating costs. There's also an increase of $863,000 each year to support medication costs for medically assisted treatment required by the Americans with Disabilities Act. And finally, In the DPA, Department of Public Advocacy, there is an increase of general funding by $11.3 million in each year to support additional positions and operating costs associated with state assumption of the Jefferson County Public Defender's Office. Those are the highlights, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Before we move on to anything else on House Bill 6, I'm going to take this opportunity very quickly. We don't get to do this on the floor as much, so anyone who is budget staff that's in the room right now, stand up, please. These, and you too, y'all too, right? Budget staff, right? These are the people that make things happen. Without them, there is no budget bill. They do fantastic work all year long, and especially as we get closer and closer and things get tighter and tighter. And these two, as well as everybody there, it just doesn't happen without you. You don't know how much respect to have for you and how much value I place on what you do. It's unbelievable. Thank you. Yeah, we're good. All right. Any member seeking recognition for questions or comments? Representative Stevenson, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gosh, where to start? I will start by saying thank you so much again to the budget staff. I cannot imagine how much time this actually takes. And so I appreciate everyone that's done a lot of hard work on this. And I do want to also thank the chairman for the fact that we were given subs yesterday. We were given paper copies of the subs. They were distributed to us yesterday. So we've had them a little less than 24 hours. And then we got a second one this morning. It was delivered to my office about 11:30. And again, I appreciate those. I want to again say I wish we had been able to get those in an electronic format, because it makes comparing what's in there and what isn't in there much easier, rather than having to go through the paper copies. And obviously that makes it harder for us to share with stakeholders, advocates, our constituents, and it kind of further keeps them in the dark and makes our job a little bit harder. But with that said, I've got a few things that I just want to pull out and ask about, if you don't mind.
Please proceed.
First being, let's talk about water and sewer infrastructure. The governor's budget bill had about $500 million appropriated, and this budget only does about $150 million. And we know that after the Eastern Kentucky floods, Eastern Kentucky's all over the state, our water and sewer infrastructure is crumbling. We know it's a problem. And then after the Eastern Kentucky floods, we know that they experienced an additional $1 billion worth of damage. So I'm just interested to hear how we landed on only $150 million.
If I'm not sure about the 150, I'd have to check that, because I know we dealt with drawdown of additional federal funds, drawdown of additional for KIA. So I don't have that tally in front of me, but I know it's substantial dollars. Number one. Number two, there is another House bill that allocates money toward water and wastewater. Number three, there was money allocated in 22 that still hasn't been utilized on an emergency basis for distressed districts. And then House Bill 9, which is also included funding in another bill, has avenues for people to pursue water and wastewater funding for projects there also. You have not seen the water wastewater bill that is referenced in House Bill 1, but that will be forthcoming. House Bill 9 you have seen, and the funding that's referenced in for that. And then whatever was in KIA and the federal fund drawdown, as well as the general fund. And as far as the money that was, we've utilized in, I think, 2 rounds previously for water, wastewater. I believe that one of the concerns is that mechanism has probably run its course. As far as a county distribution with an offset in Louisville, we're now moving on to different issues, and I think that the wastewater bill and water bill will get to that much more surgically.
Okay, thanks. A second question, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
The emergency funding limits, it's my understanding that this is the very first time that we have ever put a cap on NGEs. I just would like to know why we think that we need to cap those, especially because it's my understanding we have already surpassed the cap in this fiscal year.
So there are mostly broad-based across any NGE authority that's in the executive branch and otherwise, but there are caps placed on almost every NGE authority. Okay, the reason being is when we try to plan our budgets and we have an NGE that is unlimited, we have no idea what's going to hit. It is very difficult to try to plan for that in out years or even in near years. The caps that we set under at least the committee sub that we're looking at have been increased, partly by information that has come from the executive branch, data that we'd requested and they've provided finally. And we've adjusted those generally to make sure that historical highs, looking back 5 years or more, historical highs, and accounting for any oddities during those years with specific events, make sure that we've got a cap well above. And I believe the one reference that you made for, we've already hit the one cap for this time, that cap has been bumped up. Plus, we're in session now, so it's easy to make an adjustment. When we're out of session, we should have sufficient room for that. If there's such a cataclysmic event that takes place, then we probably need to be back in here in a 3-day special session to address it or more. Hopefully that won't happen.
Okay. What about, does the funding in here, does it comply with the juvenile justice bill that we passed last session? Are we fully funding what we passed last session?
I'm aware of no insufficiencies in that. I know that there was an additional, I understand that there is an additional request, recommendation by the governor for additional facilities, but I don't know those came up in the bill itself. If there's some issue, please let me know.
Okay. In the Medicaid program, the House budget includes about $125 million less in fiscal year 25 for the base Medicaid program. It's my understanding that it includes a reduction of about $72 million from the base budget general fund amounts and unidentified restricted funds of about $48 million. Can we talk about what the basis was for that, for the cut in the general fund? In the base budget?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just general fund, but I understand the question. And on Medicaid, I think you're just referencing FY25, is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so FY26 jumps back up, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah. So 25, what it is we have post-COVID, we'll have an enrollment decrease as that sets in. As those special rules go to the side, we will have a decrease in participation in Medicaid. Plus, restricted funds, otherwise unidentified. We've looked into an issue that was raised by the executive branch, and it looks like they mistakenly thought we were going to take a couple of actions that we didn't, which freed up restricted funds and made those available.
Okay. What is the funding source for the $48 million in restricted funds? I'm hearing that the cabinet cannot account for that.
You're going to have to repeat that one again. I'm sorry.
The $48 million, what's the funding source for the $48 million in restricted funds for the Medicaid?
I'm not trying to play games. I'm just not quite getting the question.
Yes, like there appears to be about $48 million in what we're calling phantom funds.
We've gone back and checked on the issue. There is no such thing as a phantom fund.
Right.
What we've got, so to make sure, and what we've come back up with retallying is our numbers do not agree with what they're saying.
Okay. Well, the cabinet is telling us that those numbers don't exist. So I'm just trying to figure out.
And I'm interested in the same. We've acted upon what information was provided to us, re-looked at that entire unit to make sure. Again, I think that there may be some misunderstanding that we were going to take some actions that the executive branch wanted us to that would have used up restricted funds. We did not, which freed up the restricted funds, and they apparently have not taken account of that yet.
Okay. All right. I could go on and on, but I will give my other colleagues a chance to ask some questions.
Thank you very much. What we got next? Representative Raymond?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chairman, there's a lot to like in here. However, I'm just.
Can we just stop at the first part? You had me before, however.
I just really don't know if we're in a rush to pass this budget or not, right? The A&R meeting, which is a standing meeting scheduled on Tuesdays at 10 a.m., has been canceled the last 3 times. We have a called meeting today. We got a sub last night, a sub this morning. Some of us commute and lose 2 hours of reading time that way. So if it's not ready, let's just do it tomorrow or Friday or better yet, Tuesday at 10 a.m. But I do want to ask you several questions about it. First off, was this budget written with tax cuts in mind?
No.
Let me ask you about sports wagering revenues. Those sports wagering commercials are driving me nuts. But I do want to see that revenue go to the state employee pension plan. Instead, this budget parks it. Is that correct?
This budget doesn't address it at all.
Why is that?
The money stays in, the money stays in the permanent pension fund. The funds will collect up. They are minimal at this point. Number 2, everything that's been required for pension funding has been met as well as actuarially met, and we have over and above going in already.
I think almost all of us agree that our teachers are underpaid, right? And there's been a debate over the last year or two about the best way to increase their salaries, right? I know superintendents support your idea to put more money in SEEK and have raises flow from that, but we've had superintendents here at the Capitol this week saying with the small SEEK increases in this budget, they either can't give raises or maybe it'll be 1%. What do you think about that argument?
I've heard some of the same concerns. I don't think they're fully vetted out. I'm not sure that they're actually targeting the same things that we're targeting, but we are listening to them to see if there's anything further to do. And as you know, and just to make sure we're all in the context, this is the House version that would come out. There will be a Senate version that I suspect will be different. And then there will be a conference committee that will be entirely different, most likely. We continue to listen for input. The mechanisms that we've chosen and the amounts we've put in are the most appropriate we can find at this point.
Thank you. Just a little bit more.
Yes.
So we know that compression is an issue, right? Where some of our state employees who are long-serving, who are supervisors, are paid less now than new hires that they end up supervising. I know the governor proposed some changes, but this budget just proposes a $1 million study, correct?
This budget does propose money, $1 million, to have a study by a third party to inform us about compression and how to best address it. That has not been dealt with, at least singularly or by focus, by any prior report.
I hope, I just think we might be making our folks wait too long. It's my understanding this budget has the second highest level of debt ever, and that our last budget had the highest level of debt ever, and when we've got billions in reserves, why is that?
I'm not sure how you're calculating the debt, but most of the time when we look at it, we look at what the ratio is of debt service to revenues, and we're still hanging in the 4.6%, which is what we've been maintaining.
Okay, my last question for now. So we know that over the last 10 years, we've lost almost half of our child care centers, more than 1,700, because it's not a money-making business, it's more of a public service. Since 2020, we've seen the federal government invest more than $300 million a year into that sector in Kentucky. So will you please detail for me what's in this budget for the child care and early childhood sector to prevent center closures and stave off huge tuition hikes for families?
Relative to child care in Kentucky, we've got the cabinet that oversees that set of activities. The agency budget request was granted in full and is contained in the budget and was referenced prior by our sub-chair.
Thank you.
You bet. And I'm not trying to rush you. I just want to make sure I don't cut you off. You're good? All right, thank you. Representative Dossett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I, too, want to offer my thanks to the Appropriations and Revenue Committee staff. Myself, Representative Palumbo, and Representative Upchurch are the longest-serving members here on this committee. This is my 7th budget, and I've watched this process, and I know how hard this committee staff works putting this budget together, and I want to say thank you. Mr. Chairman, I want to come back to the issue on payroll compression, which was something while I served as Budget Review Chair of the Personnel, Public Retirement, and Finance Committee, that myself and you, Mr. Chairman, asked questions of the governor's office and got little to no response on this issue, which I am glad you're putting this additional money to do this study, because if the governor's office had gotten us the information we had requested, we would not be having to fund this study. Am I correct?
If the compression issue had been dealt with as we talked about in June or July of 2021 with the then Secretary and then Commissioner that said that they would have studies that would address the compression issue as well as reclassifications, then yes, there would be no need for this.
For that, as I said, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is an issue that you and I both made those requests of the governor's office. Something I had specifically spoken to employees of our Commonwealth. We have agencies there within Christian County that had been contacting me for the last 5 years, asking because long-term employees are earning less than our new hires. And that is why I know, Mr. Chairman, you took a great interest in this, and I did also. So hopefully we're able to reach a conclusion. But as I said, perhaps if the administration had shared that information from the personnel cabinet, we could have already corrected this problem instead of making these individuals, our hardworking employees with the greatest experience, they're the ones having to suffer through this right now. But once again, I do want to say thank you. I've experienced serving not only as a minority member of this committee and now as a majority member of this committee. We have watched this process go through. As I said, this makes my 7th budget. You have done an excellent job, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank you. And for anyone who may think there's something that may not be in this budget that you had asked about, join the club, because there's things that I requested that aren't in here. This is where we do our jobs as members of this General Assembly, and now we start doing the work to make sure that we take care of our constituents at home in the best possible way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on the bill as amended by Committee Substitute 2.
Motion on the bill as amended by Committee Sub 2.
Have a motion.
Second.
And a second on House Bill 6 as amended by Committee Sub 2. Any other members seeking recognition for questions or comments? Got one somewhere. Representative Gentry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I also want to thank you and all your staff for doing all the hard work on this budget. I know it's a lot of work, and I'm still trying to catch up, find out what's in it, so I don't have too many questions yet. But just maybe a couple of easy questions. Is there any money set aside for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund?
I'm not recalling any additional funds being added to that. I'm not recalling an agency budget request on it either, but yeah.
Okay, bear with me, I'm sorry here. I had,
Just for clarification, there was an ABR, an agency budget request, I think for 10 million, that is not included.
okay, thank you. A couple of my questions, one of my colleagues has already asked, so I'll just bypass that for now. And as you may know, we're working to replace the Kentucky Reformatory in LaGrange in Oldham County. Is there any funding? I know in the governor's budget there was some funding put aside for demolition of the reformatory, since the site is an attractive industrial site. Is there anything in here that does that as well?
I know that we have money available for the transition itself. The demolition, I'm not recalling any money for that, but we're also not within 6, 16, and maybe even 26 to 36 months of that being an issue.
Okay. And I think I know the answer to this question too, but I'm going to ask it anyway if you don't mind. There's not any COLA money in here for retirees, for state retirees, KERS, or
COLAs are not addressed in this bill.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Representative Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate your work and everybody else's work on this budget. Got a really simple question. The per pupil seat base is the same in HB6 as it was in the substitute, but it indicates that there was $40 million more in SEEK. Is that due to an assumption that ADA is going to be better in that period of time than?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the data point was, but that was from revised information from KDE. So just to make sure, and I don't want to go long on this, but
I don't want to go long either.
Yeah, I don't. And this is not bad reflection on anyone. This is just the nature of what we deal with. So KDE starts off with estimates relative to SEEK. Those estimates are revised sometimes in January. We likely will get another revision in March, and those estimates will not become final until about May, after we exit session. So our most updated information caused us to change that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Representative Palumbo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank you too and the staff for all your hard work on this.
Thank you.
My question is, in the original initial budget, there was not funding in there for the Markey cancer research. Is that restored in the sub?
No additional funding on Marquee. They're looking to see if there was an actual ABR and agency budget request on that, just to check and see. But also, this was raised by someone earlier. House Bill 6 does not contain a lot of special items in it, almost none, by design. This is just bare, basic budgeting and planning is what it is. So an issue like that may be considered later through the process or through other means, but not in this version of the budget. And hold on just a second. What I understand is there may have been a misunderstanding by the agency. There was no ABR. They may have thought that was in their base, and we'll look into that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep. Any other members seeking recognition for comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on House Bill 6 as amended by Committee Sub 2. Please call roll.
Representative Banta,
Yes.
Representative Bentley, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Bray,
Yes.
Representative Brown,
Pass.
Representative Dietz,
Yes.
Representative Dossett,
Yes.
Representative Flannery,
Yes.
Representative Fleming, Representative Fraser Gordon,
Yes.
Representative Freeland,
Yes.
Representative Fugit,
Yes.
Representative Gentry,
Oh, pass.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative McCool, Representative McPherson,
Yes.
Representative Palumbo,
I need to pass until some of my constituent concerns are answered. Thank you.
Representative Raymond,
Not yet, no.
Representative Riley,
Yes.
Representative Stevenson,
I'm going to pass today.
Representative Upchurch,
Yes.
Chair Petrie.
Yes. House Bill 6, as amended by Committee Sub 2, having received 17 yes votes, 1 no vote, and 4 passes, will be reported with favorable expression that same should pass on the floor as amended. Thank you. Next up, we're going to go ahead and take up House Bill 264, which is the judicial branch budget. Since we already have Chair Flannery in play, if you will continue, please proceed relative to the judicial branch budget. I'm sorry?
I believe there's a committee sub, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Is there a committee sub? Okay.
I move to adopt committee sub to House Bill 264.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for adoption of Committee Sub 1 to House Bill 264. All in favor? All opposed? Committee Sub to 264 is adopted. That's what we have before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Give some highlights of the judicial branch budget, House Bill 264, starting in operations and administration. It provides $9.8 million in general funds, 636 some thousand in restricted funds, and 52,000 in federal funds for fiscal year 25, and 15 million in the general fund, 979,000 in restricted funds, and 80,000 in federal funds in fiscal year 26 to support a 6% salary increase in fiscal year 25 and a 2% salary increase in fiscal year 26 for all personnel.
I think you meant 4 and 2, if I recall correctly.
Okay. I may have an error on my notes here. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Increases the general fund by $563,000 in fiscal year 25 and $528,000 in fiscal year 26 to support 7 additional positions. Under the local facilities funds, increases by $1.5 million in each year to support additional use allowance for courthouse projects authorized in Butler, Clinton, and Crittenden counties. Adds language requiring reports on asset preservation project pools authorized in the capital budget. Provides authorization for the construction of a court facility in Owsley County with a project scope of $28 million in fiscal year 25, and increases by the general fund by $2.7 million in fiscal year 25 and $5.5 million in fiscal year 26 to support debt service for capital construction projects totaling $67.6 million. And last, in Part 3, general provisions, it removes language specifying the process for employee layoffs, furloughs, and reduced hours. Amends language for salary increases to specify an increase of 4% in fiscal year 25 and 2% in fiscal year 26. And amends language related to caseload analysis to request the analysis be done every 2 years beginning January 1, 2025.
Those complete your highlights of House Bill 264 as amended by Committee Sub 1.
Yes, sir.
Entertain a motion on the bill as amended.
Motion on the bill is amended by Sub 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on House Bill 264 as amended by Committee Sub 1. Any member seeking recognition for comments or questions? Representative Fraser Gordon, please proceed.
Thank you, Rep. Fannery. I think we share a common interest. I was wondering if there was any agency increase in jury pay. I know I filed a bill on the matter and you had as well, so I just...
That's not covered. I did have a bill that was heard in judiciary. It's been reassigned to this committee, and I'm hopeful that that will be addressed in the following days.
And just to clarify, so we're clear on budget units, okay, that would come through finance. That would be House Bill 6 issues. So when we're hunting on the issue, just making sure everybody's clear. Okay. Anything else further? I'm sorry. Fraser Gordon. Okay. Representative Stevenson.
Thank you. I just wanted to know if we had a comment from AOC, if they support or oppose or are neutral.
I've met with them personally, and there was only one language change that they'd asked for. We'll continue to talk about that, but as far as the substance of it, I'm not aware of any small or medium or large contention, although that could have changed on a second 14th reading from their standpoint. Anybody from AOC in here that wants to say otherwise at the moment? Oh, you're good, huh? Did I accurately reflect the conversation? Very good. Thank you. So there you go. All right. Anyone else seeking, any other members seeking recognition for comments or questions? Seeing none, and we have before us House Bill 264 as amended by Committee Sub 1 with a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Please call the roll.
Representative Banta?
Yes.
Representative Bentley? Yes, ma'am. Representative Bowling?
Yes.
Representative Bray?
Yes.
Representative Brown?
Yes.
Representative Dietz?
Yes.
Representative Dossett?
Yes.
Representative Flannery?
Yes.
Representative Fleming?
Aye.
Representative Fraser Gordon?
Yes.
Representative Freeland?
Yes.
Representative Fugit?
Yes.
Representative Gentry?
Yes.
Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative McCool? Representative McPherson?
Yes.
Representative Palumbo? Representative Raymond?
Yes.
Representative Riley? Representative Stevenson?
Yes.
Representative Upchurch?
Yes.
Chair Petrie?
Yes. House Bill 264, as amended by Committee Sub 1, having received 22 yes votes, no nays, and no passes, will be reported with favorable expression that same should pass on the floor as amended. Next up, we're going to take up House Bill 1. An act relating to government agencies making appropriation, therefore, and declaring an emergency. House Bill 1, I believe there is a committee sub. Will entertain a motion.
I move to adopt Committee Sub 1 to House Bill 1.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? It's approved. We have adopted. We now have before us House Bill 1 as amended by Committee Sub 1, and relatively brief bill, which is always nice. And I'm just going to try to hit a summary of it real quick rather than go through the individual parts. House Bill 6 is the executive branch budget that deals with recurring expenses and recurring revenues. And then to further separate and make sure that we try our best not to mix one-time expenditures and recurring revenues and vice versa, and trying to separate those out further. House Bill 1 is a new instrument by which we look at the Budget Reserve Trust Fund, ascertain what level it is at, what our current needs are to maintain sufficient reserves, and once that's thought and calculated, then are there investments to be made? And so House Bill 1 proposes one-time investments. So I'm going to hit over those very quickly. There would be a $500 million investment in the Kentucky Teachers Retirement System Pension Fund. That $500 million would be over and above the legal requirement met in House Bill 6, as well as the actuarial requirements to hit our funding over time. This is over and above that. Kentucky Employees Non-Hazardous Pension Fund would be $300 million from the Budget Reserve Trust Fund into that. That would be in addition to fully funding the actuarial amount in House Bill 6, as well as $250 million in the first year and $250 million in the second year as an over and above payment. $250, and $300 will net you $800 million going into Kentucky Employees Non-Hazardous Pension Fund if both bills pass with those terms. Third, State Police Retirement Pension Fund, $150 million proposed to go in that. Local government, $175 million and $275, $175 in the current year, $275 in the first year. That is relative to House Bill 9 in 2023, which I think most people here have some information about, and we're trying to fund that. We started the program in 23 session with $2 million as a placeholder, a lot of input over the interim, and now attempting to fund it to get it moving. Next, you have Kentucky Infrastructure Authority drinking water and wastewater infrastructure, which I think referenced earlier in response to a question. $75 million in the first year, $75 million in the second year, and that would be a separate bill that would provide the structure of what it's trying to target and get to as far as water and wastewater needs. Transportation Cabinet Kentucky Rail Development Program, $15 million to the Short Line Infrastructure Preservation Program, $15 million to the Industrial Access and Safety Improvement Program. Transportation Cabinet Riverport Construction and Maintenance, $3.5 million in the current, $15 million in the first year of the biennium, and the 25. Transportation, General Aviation, Airports, I think exactly as we did in the 22 budget cycle, this would be $200,000 grants out to each of the 58 general aviation airports. Economic Development Cabinet, Kentucky Product Development Initiative, the PDI program, which has been around at least since 2022, gone through 2 rounds already. This would further fund that, and I would anticipate in cooperation and collaboration with the Cabinet for Economic Development, there will be some changes to the program to refine it to meet current needs also, much like we're doing with the water and wastewater. Economic Development Cabinet Mega Projects Closure Account. This is an issue that came up with Cabinet for Economic Development and from the Governor's office to make sure that there are ways that CED can continue to work with infrastructure supports and other needed things to address projects of expansion or new ones in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Also, Economic Development Loan Pool in Hardin and Warren counties of $50 million. That comes from information from CED as well as the administration. There is a water pipeline project that was funded previously, insufficient funds to complete it, and we have some capacity issues. It's one that needs to be completed. This would make a loan pool that would include that, as well as some water issues, in particular in Hardin County, I think northern Hardin County, actually, by virtue of population increases that are coming now and will be coming in light of economic development there. And then all those small state police lab equipment purchases, various equipment that they have requested, $6.395 million, which all of these, I go back to the earlier theme, is set up, all of these are set up as one-time appropriations. If this was never repeated ever again in the future, then these can stand on their own and be completed on their own. Hopefully, if budgeting holds and the reserves build again, then we can revisit the issue in 25 and years thereafter to perform the same analysis and make sure that we keep sufficient reserves, but we also invest where we can as we can. We have the committee sub adopted. I'll entertain a motion on the bill as amended by the committee sub.
Motion on House Bill 1 as amended by Committee Sub 1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on House Bill 1 as amended by committee sub. Any members seeking recognition for comments or questions? Go right ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you, Mr. Chairman, what's the appropriate size of the budget reserve trust fund in your mind? I heard you talk about we need to make sure we've got sufficient reserves.
Yeah.
Before we were there years ago, right, I know that there was a goal of about 15% or 40-something days, and right now we're very far above that. And I believe that even after we spend this money, which is quite a bit of spending, that we're expected to replenish the budget reserve trust funds and be above that sort of recommended rate. So in your mind, what's sufficient reserves?
What we're targeting is hopefully between 45 and 60 days. And the reason I leave it open to a range is this. As we assess from year to year and budget cycle to budget cycle, economic circumstances change. So right now, 45 days or thereabout would be a good range. It's about 12.4% of what your average would be over a 5-year period. What we've retained is about 45-day reserve. And as you mentioned, expected, but not actual yet, but expected there would be additional deposit into the reserve account come closeout FY24. Those monies would be in the reserve so that we would reassess again in 25 the same calculus. What's our economic circumstances? What do we have in the reserve? What's our optimal days of reserve that we need at that time? And if there's money to be invested as a one-time investment, then we do so.
Thank you. So if everything goes as planned, we could see a very similar bill next year.
If everything goes as planned, there's a lot of hedge and a lot of ifs, ands, and buts around it, but we expect there to be additional monies deposited. We expect the reserve to go up, even if this House Bill 1 goes through as it's stated. We would expect more money to be deposited. It's just one of those things we don't know what's going to happen between now and whatever time period. We hope that the reserves go back up. We think they'll go back up, and then in 25 we'll take a look at it again.
Thank you.
Representative Gentry, and I apologize if I looked past you a while ago.
Oh, no problem. First of all, Representative Raymond stole my question again, so good question and good answer. But specifically, I just want to say I don't see anything on here really that doesn't look like a good investment and that I wouldn't support. And thank you for the monies going into paying down liabilities in public pension program. Is there ever any thought doing something similar that was in the governor's budget of a 13th check out of these one-time funds, because the retirees are really the ones that have suffered through the pandemic and you know, all the inflationary pressures that have come, especially with property taxes and valuations and you know, on a fixed income. Was there ever any really thought to assist with funds in a one-time fashion in that way at all?
That was considered. The problem is this, not the issue of a COLA necessary, but it's
just the one time, like an extra check.
It's the difference between House Bill 6 versus House Bill 1, that would really be something, even if it's talked about in terms of a one-time, whether it be a check or a percentage or whatever it may be. I don't think there's any way possible that it would be seriously thought of as a one-time expenditure. It would be something that once we get back into that, we're in it and probably in it for a good while. So whether that be House Bill 1, probably not. House Bill 6, it could be considered for something that if you're going to look at recurring expenses over time. But I will point out, and I appreciate the comment about trying to get to the unfunded liabilities. Understand that even with these appropriations, TRS will be about 60% funded if this holds. State police will be about 60% funded if it holds. KRS non-has, which is the largest by far by participation and people affected, it would be at approximately 24% funded. That's after $300 million plus the $250 million plus the $250 million over and above the actuarial required. We're looking at the largest system that we have has come up from 12%. 24 ballparkish is better than 12, but not in a good stead for me yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members seeking comment or question regarding House Bill 1 as amended by committee substitute? Seeing no others, we have a motion and a second on the bill. Please call the roll.
Representative Banta,
Yes.
Representative Bentley, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Bray,
Yes.
Representative Brown,
Pass.
Representative Dietz,
Yes.
Representative Dossett,
Yes.
Representative Flannery,
Yes.
Representative Fleming,
Aye.
Representative Frazier Gordon,
Yes.
Representative Freeland,
Yes.
Representative Fugit,
Yes.
Representative Gentry,
Explain my vote.
Yes, please, briefly.
Yeah, just going to say there's some items I would have put on here, but I'm still a yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative McCool, Representative McPherson,
Yes.
Representative Palumbo,
Yes.
Representative Raymond,
Yes.
Representative Riley, Representative Stevenson, Representative Upchurch,
Yes.
Chair Petrie.
Yes. House Bill 1 is amended by committee substitute, having received 21 yes votes, 0 nay votes, 1 pass vote. Will be reported with favorable expression that same should pass on the floor as amended. Thank y'all. Next up, we will consider House Bill 263, an act making appropriations for the operations, maintenance, and support of the legislative branch of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And I believe there may be a committee sub, and I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt committee substitute 1 to House Bill 263.
Have a motion and a second for adoption of the committee sub. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We have before us House Bill 260. It's adopted. We have House Bill 263 as amended by committee sub relative to the legislative branch. Everyone should love this one. 263 is a continuation budget with necessary modification that adds language to allow legislative publications to be distributed electronically. I will entertain a motion on the bill.
Motion on the bill as amended by the committee sub 1.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any member seeking recognition for comments or questions? Representative Raymond.
Yes, Chairman. The way I read the bill, it didn't just allow the legislative record to be distributed online. It actually defunds the print edition of the legislative record. Is that correct?
I'm getting a head shake. No.
Good. Thank you.
I think you're good, but what I would suggest is talk to us afterwards if you want, and we'll clarify language from last bill as well as this one, last session as well as this one. Any other members seeking recognition for comments or questions? Seeing none, please call the roll on House Bill 263 as amended by committee sub, please.
Representative Banta? Yes. Representative Bentley? Representative Bowling?
Yes.
Representative Bray?
Yes.
Representative Brown?
No.
Representative Dietz?
Yes.
Representative Dossett?
Yes.
Representative Flannery?
Yes.
Representative Fleming?
Aye.
Representative Frazier Gordon?
Yes.
Representative Freeland?
Yes.
Representative Fugit?
Yes.
Representative Gentry?
Yes.
Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative McCool? Representative McPherson?
Yes.
Representative Palumbo?
Yes.
Representative Raymond?
No.
Representative Riley? Representative Stevenson? Representative Upchurch?
Yes.
Chair Petrie?
Yes. House Bill 263 is amended by committee sub, having received 20 yes votes, 2 no votes, and 0 pass votes, will be reported with favorable expression that same should pass on the House floor as amended. Thank you all. Next up, we're going to take up House Joint Resolution 56. And yes, if Representative Fugit, Chair Fugit would step to the table, please. I believe we have a committee substitute 2. We entertain a motion on.
Move to adopt committee sub 2 to House Bill 262.
What?
Okay.
Yep.
Just
Scratch that.
Retract the motion.
I'm
Let me
gonna
check again.
Yeah, I will retract that motion to adopt committee sub 2 to House Bill 262. I know, that's what I made it for.
Just making sure, we're doing House Joint Resolution 56. Everybody's good.
Yes, sir.
All right. There is no committee substitute on House Joint Resolution.
You have me
56.
confused, Mr. Chairman. I was looking for the committee sub.
Just making sure. House Joint Resolution 56, joint resolution authorizing the release of capital construction funds to the Department of Parks for improvements to Kentucky State Parks and declaring an emergency. And if I may, very quickly, if everyone will recall, in the 22 session, we had authorized $150 million in bonds for parks and projects on their behalf, on condition that a report come in with certain components. Despite the report, we are going to continue with the authorizations that continue to this day. If everyone will recall, in 23, we had a joint resolution that allowed certain projects to go on and move forward. They would not be included in House Bill 6. It's not designed to be included in House Bill 6. If you've seen a comparison with House Bill 6, it's just in flat error. That mechanism won't exist because it's already been authorized. This would be the final let of those authorizations back in 2022. Representative Fugit, if you will explain, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This House Joint Resolution 56 will release $62,502,500 in capital construction funds to be used by the Department of Parks. If you look at the copy that you have, there'll be $6,883,200 for building systems repair and replacement projects at about 4 different state parks: Marion River, General Butler, Pennyrile Forest, and Dale Hollow, for building repairs. Then second of all, there'll be $3 million for life safety system upgrades and replacement projects at various parks. Then there'll be replacement of electronic access control systems at all Kentucky State Resort parks. $7,011,800 for structural and safety repairs at several state parks. There's $1 million for statewide ADA mobility improvements at different state parks. There's $5 million for dam safety reconstruction and repairs at 2 different state parks. There are $2.7 million for Lake Barkley State Resort Park Lodge, the interior upgrades, $22 million for accommodation of hospitality upgrades at several different state parks. There is $11,955,000 for pool improvements and repairs at several different state parks. $1.2 million for playground upgrades at a couple state parks. It also puts, if you look at Section 3, it requires Department of Parks to submit a written report to the LRC and the Interim Joint Committee on Appropriations and Revenue, just giving us the status of each project that they are completing, the total amount of money that's spent, and that basically is the House Joint Resolution 56, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you very much. And do we have a motion and a second on the bill?
Motion
or
on
the
the
resolution? Have a motion and a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second on House Joint Resolution 56. Any member seeking recognition for comments or questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I do remember this, and it appears to me that the monies that we're not releasing, I think it was a little over 70 million, if I'm not mistaken, originally.
Total of 71.
71. So it's probably a little over 8 million or so. It looks like what's not being, funds not being released for is for golf improvements.
That is correct.
Can you explain to me why we don't want good golf courses at our resorts? Or why these funds aren't being, or these projects aren't being funded?
So I'll go back to an earlier comment about, despite the report coming back and us not being able to let all the projects out in 23, and despite that report not being updated, and despite Chair Fugit making personal contact, despite a few other things, and despite the fact that we're adding 4 personnel to parks so that they can hopefully get these projects going, and despite the fact that we're adding personnel to finance to help get these projects moving, we do not have any good indication about what the plan is regarding golf courses, except for we understand universally that they are expensive, they are potentially money pits, and they require a lot of upgrade and maintenance, and I'm not sure that there is a plan to integrate those sufficiently.
Okay.
And just to answer your next question, I am not a golfer.
I understand that, and I understand. If I would, Chair, just make a quick point. Golf courses are very difficult to be profitable on their own, separately. However, they are big drawers to resorts. And I can tell you this, as a golfer, I am a golfer, and Representative Bray is himself, as he smiled in there. But I could tell you a nightmare is when you spend a lot of money to go to a resort and you travel out of state with many couples or many guys, whatever the trip might be, and you go to a golf course and you pay a lot of money to go to a resort, and you're there several days taking your discretional spending to that area, and the greens are all burnt out, or there's no sand in the sand bunkers, and the golf course is obviously not maintained, there's two things that happen. One, you get upset and you blame your bad golf round that day on the conditions of the golf course. And number two, you don't come back. I'm worried about number two. I know golf courses are expensive. Like I said, it's difficult to be profitable on their own. It's kind of like a big swimming pool at a club. They're hardly ever profitable. But if you don't have them, your club members go away because, that's what the kids do when you go play golf. And golf courses are very similar in our state park system, and we're moving to a consumptive-based tax. We have got to invest in things that draw and increase non-resident revenues. And this is, again, one of those areas that it's crucial, in my opinion, and I've ranted along too much, but I wish we could do something about those monies. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I appreciate the comments, and I wish we could do something about the money also. But as everyone in this committee knows, we're not going to waste money on something that doesn't have a viable plan. I look forward to any continued conversations, both with you and Parks and anyone else.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Stevenson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm actually just going to point out there's a few typos that I'm guessing may need to be fixed in a floor amendment. On page 3, line 9, I believe that the resolution needs to add the word "and" between the words "building" and "pool" for the Tom Sawyer State Park project. I think that that's two different projects that are being referenced there. It's not a building pool, it's a recreational building and a pool. And then second, on page 4, on the pool improvements and repairs category list, General Butler is listed twice, and it throws in my old Kentucky home, and I believe that and the extra General Butler project should actually be labeled General Burnside and Pennyrile.
Do you have a problem with Butler getting twice the amount of
I
money?
don't.
I'm just asking.
Parks does. General Burnside would have an issue, and Pennyrile as well.
I understand. Thank you very much. Any other members seeking recognition for comments or questions? Representative Raymond, yes.
Yes, I remember that this money was allocated but not dispersed because the plans were not sufficient in your mind. But are you saying that they're still not sufficient, but we're going to release the money anyway?
I think the plan could be a lot better. However, as we've received input from throughout the Commonwealth, and I'll give credit to Chair Fugit, who's worked on this during the interim, as well as myself, trying to get feedback and a few personal visits and all kinds of good things. We wanted to push the projects forward. We think we can push these forward. And to that end, again, we want this to succeed, and that's why, without a request from the agency, we're devoting additional personnel to get this done.
Okay. Was there any other reason that we did not want to spend this money last year?
I'm sure someone else may have had a reason. That's all I can think of at the time.
Okay, thanks.
Any other members seeking recognition for comments or questions? Seeing none, we have House Joint Resolution 56 with a motion and a second on the resolution. Anyone else? Seeing no one, please call the roll.
Representative Banta,
Yes.
Representative Bentley, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Bray,
Yes.
Representative Brown,
Pass.
Representative Dietz,
Yes.
Representative Dossett,
Yes.
Representative Flannery,
Yes.
Representative Fleming,
Aye.
Representative Frazier Gordon,
Yes.
Representative Freeland,
Yes.
Representative Fugit,
Yes.
Representative Gentry,
Yes, but 71 million would have been better.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative McCool, Representative McPherson,
Yes.
Representative Palumbo,
Yes.
Representative Raymond,
Yes.
Representative Riley, Representative Stevenson, Representative Upchurch,
Yes.
Chair Petrie.
Yes. House Joint Resolution 56, having received 21 yes votes, no nay votes, and 1 pass vote, will be reported with favorable expression that same should pass on the floor. Thank you very much. And then I think, give me just a moment. Last item on the agenda is House Bill 262. This would be same topic of NGE that was raised previously, but this would deal with current year. And 2-page bill. Page and a partial. We do have a committee sub 2. Entertain a motion.
I move to adopt committee substitute 2 to House Bill 262.
Have a motion, a second on adoption of PHS 2 to House Bill 262. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Committee sub number 2 to House Bill 262 is adopted. And that's what we have before us. And a fairly straightforward, simple bill in brevity. Sets a cap of $75 million in FY24 for Department of Military Affairs, and also puts a cap on operational costs for inmate population of $5 million in fiscal year 24. Section 3 of the bill would have an emergency clause in effect, and that's again affecting FY24. Any member seeking recognition for comments or questions on House Bill 262 as amended by Committee Sub 2? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on 262 as amended by Committee Sub 2. Please call roll.
Representative Banta,
Yes.
Representative Bentley, Representative
Petrie.
Bowling,
Chairman Petrie, I don't believe we have a motion on the bill.
There was no motion. I'm sorry.
I will make that
It's the end of
now.
a long day. We'll just recall all those
Yep.
votes because there was nothing to it. And do we have a motion on?
Motion on 262 as amended by sub 2.
Have a motion and a second. Please call the roll. Thank y'all.
Representative Banta,
Now I've changed my mind. Yes.
Representative Bentley, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Bray,
Yes.
Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Dietz,
Yes.
Representative Dossett,
Yes.
Representative Flannery, Representative Fleming,
Aye.
Representative Frazier Gordon,
Yes.
Representative Freeland,
Yes.
Representative Fugit,
Yes.
Representative Gentry,
No.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative McCool, Representative McPherson,
Yes.
Representative Palumbo,
Yes.
Representative Raymond,
No, and to explain, Mr. Chairman, you're the
Briefly,
one.
please.
You're the one who's always saying we can't see the future. We don't know what's going to happen. So I'm uncomfortable with setting caps.
Representative Riley, Representative Stevenson, Representative Upchurch,
Yes.
Chair Petrie.
Yes. House Bill 262 is amended by Committee Sub 2, having received 19 yes votes, 2 no votes, 1 pass vote. Will be reported with favorable expression that same should pass on the floor as amended. We are adjourned. Thank you all.